Right now, as you're watching this, there's a question burning in your chest. It's the same question that keeps you awake at 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling, replaying conversations that ended with you giving more than you got. Why do you keep getting hurt by the same types of people? Why does your kindness feel like a target on your back? Why do you watch manipulators climb ladders while you're still explaining why you deserve basic respect? Here's the truth nobody wants to tell you. You're not failing because you're not good enough. You're failing because you're playing by rules that don't exist. You're fighting with honor in a war where the other side threw out the rule book before the battle even began. And tonight that changes. Because what you're about to discover isn't just going to explain your pain, it's going to transform it into the very thing that makes you untouchable. But first, let me ask you something that might sting. How many times have you blamed yourself for someone else's betrayal? How many times have you wondered if you were too much or not enough? How many times have you apologized for existing in spaces where you should have been celebrated? If those questions just hit you in the gut, then you're exactly where you need to be. Because tonight, we're not just talking about power, we're talking about the specific kind of power that people like you need. The kind that protects your heart without hardening it, the kind that commands respect without losing your soul. The lie they sold you. From the moment you could understand words, they fed you the greatest lie ever told. Good things happen to good people. They painted you a picture of a world where kindness gets rewarded, where hard work gets noticed, where being genuine attracts genuine people. They told you that if you just keep your head down, stay humble, and treat others right, the universe would somehow balance the scales in your favor. But here you are, years later, and the scales aren't balanced. They're tilted against you. And you're starting to realize that maybe, just maybe, you've been playing a game that was rigged from the start. The people who hurt you weren't evil masterminds. They were simply following different rules. While you were taught to share, they were learning to take. While you were learning to forgive, they were learning to forget. While you were building character, they were building leverage. And here's what really burns. They sleep better at night than you do. They don't lie awake wondering if they were too harsh, too selfish, too much. They don't replay conversations looking for ways they could have been kinder. They don't carry the weight of other people's emotions like you do. Well, they're monsters. It's because they understand something about human nature that you were never taught. Something that Machiavelli tried to tell the world 500 years ago, but most people were too uncomfortable to hear it. People don't treat you how you deserve to be treated. They treat you how you train them to treat you. Read that again, because that sentence contains the key to everything that's been confusing you. Every person who walked over you, every boss who undervalued you, every friend who took advantage of your generosity, they weren't seeing your worth and choosing to ignore it. They were responding to the signals you were sending about what you would and wouldn't accept. The training you never realized you were giving. Think about the last time someone disrespected you. What did you do? Did you smile and say it's okay? Did you make excuses for their behavior? Did you convince yourself that maybe you were being too sensitive? Every time you absorbed someone's bad behavior without consequence, you were training them. Every time you gave your energy to someone who didn't match it, you were teaching them that your energy was free. Every time you forgave without requiring change, you were showing them that your boundaries were suggestions, not requirements. You thought you were being the bigger person. You thought you were taking the high road. But what you were actually doing was teaching people that you were safe to mistreat, that you would always be there, no matter how they treated you, that your love, your time, your energy had no price tag because you gave it away so freely. And now you're wondering why you attract people who consume instead of contribute, why you end up in relationships that drain instead of sustain, why your kindness feels like weakness instead of strength. It's not because there's something wrong with being kind. It's because you never learned the difference between kindness and enabling, between compassion and being a doormat, between forgiveness and being a pushover. Here's what's about to change everything. The most powerful people in the world aren't the ones who never feel compassion. They're the ones who feel it deeply, but express it strategically. They love hard, but protect harder. They give generously, but never from empty cups. They understand that real kindness requires boundaries, that true compassion sometimes says no, That genuine love protects itself first so it can protect others better. The awakening. When you finally see the game, there's a moment that changes everything. It's different for everyone, but when it happens, you'll know. It's the moment when you stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" and start asking, "What's wrong with this situation?" Maybe it's when you realize that the person you've been covering for at work has been taking credit for your ideas. Maybe it's when you discover that the friend you've been financially supporting has been calling you desperate behind your back. Maybe it's when you finally see that the person you've been bending over backwards for wouldn't bend over forward for you. That moment of clarity, when the fog lifts and you see the game that's been playing you, that's your awakening, and it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt because you'll realize how much of your life you've spent playing by rules that only applied to you. How much of your energy you've given to people who never intended to give it back. How much of yourself you've sacrificed for people who never asked you to, never appreciated it, and never would have done the same for you. But here's what makes that pain beautiful. It's the pain of birth. It's the pain of becoming someone new, someone who sees clearly, acts strategically, and protects what matters. You're not becoming cold. You're becoming conscious. You're not becoming selfish. You're becoming self-aware. You're not becoming manipulative. You're becoming masterful. And mastery, real mastery, starts with understanding that the world operates on certain principles, whether you acknowledge them or not. You can either learn these principles and use them to protect and empower yourself, or you can ignore them and keep getting hurt by people who understand them better than you do. The principles they never taught you. Principle 1, attention is currency. Every interaction is an exchange of attention. When you give your attention freely, constantly, without requiring anything in return, you're devaluing your own currency. You're training people to take you for granted because you're always available, always responsive, always there. The most magnetic people aren't the ones who give attention to everyone. They're the ones who make their attention feel valuable. They're present when they're with you, but they're not always available. They respond thoughtfully, not immediately. They create space that makes others appreciate their presence instead of expecting it. Principle 2, respect is performance. People don't respect you for who you are inside. They respect you for what you demonstrate outside. If you want to be respected, you have to behave in ways that command respect. This means having standards and enforcing them. It means having boundaries and maintaining them. It means treating yourself with the same respect you want others to show you. When you constantly apologize for existing, when you minimize your achievements, when you accept treatment that you would never give to others, you're performing unworthiness. And people will treat you exactly as unworthy as you appear to be. Principle 3, silence is strategy. The person who talks the most usually has the least power. The person who explains the most usually has the least authority. The person who defends the most usually has the least confidence. Powerful people understand that silence creates tension, and tension creates attention. When you stop over-explaining, stop defending your every move, stop trying to make everyone understand you, something interesting happens. People start paying closer attention to what you do say. Your words carry more weight because they're not drowning in a sea of unnecessary explanations. Principle 4, scarcity creates value. The reason diamonds are valuable isn't because they're the most useful rocks on earth. It's because they're rare. The reason some people command respect and others beg for it isn't because of their inherent worth. It's because of their availability. When you're always there, always ready to help, always willing to drop everything for others, you become common. And common things, no matter how good they are, don't get treasured. They get used. The transformation from victim to victor. Now comes the part that separates the people who just consume this information from the people who actually use it to change their lives. Everything up to this point has been diagnosis. Now we get to the cure. But understand this. The cure isn't going to feel comfortable at first. You're going to feel selfish when you start setting boundaries. You're going to feel mean when you stop being available to everyone. You're going to feel fake when you start being strategic about your kindness. These feelings are normal. They're the withdrawal symptoms of recovering from people-pleasing addiction. They're the growing pains of becoming someone who values themselves as much as they value others. Step 1. Audit your energy investments. Look at where your energy is going. Who are you texting first? Who are you calling to check on? Who are you helping, supporting, encouraging? Now ask yourself, what percentage of that energy is being returned to you? I'm not talking about keeping score in a petty way. I'm talking about honestly assessing whether your relationships are mutual or one-sided, whether your kindness is appreciated or expected, whether your presence is valued or taken for granted. Make a list. Put people in categories: energy givers, energy neutral, energy drains. Start spending more time with the givers. Maintain professional courtesy with the neutral, and create distance from the drains. Step 2. Establish non-negotiable standards. Standards aren't suggestions you hope people will follow. They're requirements that determine who gets access to you and who doesn't. And here's the key. You don't announce your standards. You demonstrate them through your actions. If someone consistently shows up late to plans with you, you stop making plans with them. You don't give them a lecture about punctuality. You just stop being available for their convenience. If someone constantly interrupts you, you stop talking mid-sentence and let the silence hang there until they realize what they've done. You don't explain why interrupting is rude. You just make it awkward for them to do it. If someone takes your generosity for granted, you stop being generous with them. You don't announce that you're withdrawing your support. You just stop offering it. Step 3. Master the art of strategic withdrawal. This is where you learn the power of absence, not as punishment, but as communication. When someone treats you in a way that doesn't align with your standards, you don't argue with them. You don't try to convince them to treat you better. You simply withdraw your presence. You become unavailable. Not busy, unavailable. There's a difference. Busy implies you'll be available later. Unavailable implies they need to earn access to you again. This does two things. It protects your energy from people who don't value it, and it creates a natural consequence for poor treatment. Most people will adjust their behavior when they realize that treating you badly means losing access to you. The new you, magnetic, not desperate. As you start implementing these principles, you'll notice something interesting happening. The people who were used to your old energy will resist your new boundaries. They'll call you selfish, distant, changed. They'll try to guilt you back into your old patterns. This is actually a good sign. It means your boundaries are working. It means you're successfully changing the dynamic from you chasing them to them having to earn you. But here's what's really exciting. New people will start showing up in your life. People who are attracted to your new energy, who respect your boundaries, who appreciate your selective attention. People who match your energy instead of draining it. You'll start attracting people who see your standards as a challenge rather than an obstacle. People who are excited to meet someone who values themselves enough to have requirements. People who understand that anything worth having is worth earning. And slowly, gradually, you'll start to see that the pain you've been carrying, the pain of feeling unappreciated, undervalued, taken for granted, that pain starts to fade. Not because you've become cold, but because you've become clear. Clear about what you will and won't accept. Clear about what you do and don't deserve. Clear about who you are and what you bring to the table. The price of power. Let me be honest with you about something. This path isn't free. When you start valuing yourself, some people will leave your life. When you start setting boundaries, some relationships will end. When you start requiring reciprocity, some people will reveal that they were never really friends. They were just consumers of your energy. This is going to hurt. You're going to question yourself. You're going to wonder if you're being too harsh, too demanding, too much. You're going to be tempted to go back to your old ways, to smooth things over, to make everyone comfortable again. Don't. Because here's what you need to understand. The people who leave when you start respecting yourself were never meant to stay. They were attracted to your weakness, not your strength. They were drawn to your availability, not your authenticity. They were users, not friends. And yes, it's scary to let go of relationships, even bad ones. It's scary to risk being alone rather than being used. But here's what's scarier. Living your entire life giving more than you get, loving more than you're loved, caring more than you're cared for. The loneliness of being surrounded by people who don't really see you is far worse than the temporary solitude of setting boundaries. The magnetic effect. But here's the beautiful part. As you release the people who don't value you, you create space for the people who do. As you stop accepting scraps of attention, you make room for genuine connection. As you stop being desperate for any relationship, you become magnetic to the right relationships. People are attracted to those who value themselves. There's something compelling about someone who knows their worth and isn't afraid to walk away from situations that don't honor it. There's something magnetic about someone who is kind but not weak, generous but not foolish, loving but not desperate. You'll start to notice that conversations flow differently. People listen more carefully when you speak because you don't waste words. They treat you more respectfully because you've shown them how you expect to be treated. They invest more in the relationship because they understand that your time and energy aren't free. You'll find yourself in rooms where your voice matters, in relationships where your needs are considered, in situations where your presence is genuinely valued rather than simply tolerated. The ripple effect. As you transform, something incredible happens. You start impacting others in a completely different way. Instead of enabling weakness, you inspire strength. Instead of rewarding bad behavior, you model good boundaries. Instead of accepting less than you deserve, you show others that they don't have to either. The people who truly love you, the ones worth keeping, will respect your transformation. They might be surprised at first, but they'll appreciate the healthier dynamic. They'll see that you're not pushing them away, you're creating space for a better relationship. And the people who resist your growth, who pressure you to go back to being someone they can take advantage of, their resistance tells you everything you need to know about their intentions. The test. Here's how you'll know this is working. You'll stop feeling anxious about other people's opinions of you. You'll stop checking your phone constantly hoping for validation. You'll stop analyzing every interaction looking for signs of rejection or approval. Instead, you'll start feeling curious about whether other people meet your standards. You'll start evaluating whether they're worth your time and energy. You'll start choosing relationships based on how they make you feel rather than how they make you look. You'll stop asking, do they like me? And start asking, do I like them? You'll stop wondering, am I enough? And start wondering, are they enough? This shift in perspective changes everything. Because when you stop seeking validation and start offering value, when you stop chasing approval and start commanding respect, when you stop being desperate and start being selective, that's when you become truly powerful. The daily practice. This transformation doesn't happen overnight. It's a daily practice of choosing yourself, setting boundaries, and maintaining standards. Some days will be easier than others. Some days you'll want to fall back into old patterns. But every day you choose to honor your worth. Every day you refuse to accept less than you deserve. Every day you prioritize your well-being over other people's comfort. You're building something unbreakable inside yourself. You're building the kind of inner strength that can't be shaken by other people's opinions. The kind of self-respect that can't be negotiated away. The kind of personal power that attracts the right people and repels the wrong ones. The choice. Right now you have a choice. You can continue living the way you have been, giving more than you get, accepting less than you deserve, hoping that someday someone will see your worth and treat you accordingly. Or you can decide that your worth isn't up for debate, that your standards aren't up for negotiation, that your energy is precious and should be treated as such. You can decide that you'd rather be alone than undervalued, single than settling, unemployed than underappreciated. You can decide that you're done training people to treat you badly by accepting their bad treatment. You can decide that starting today, you're going to be the kind of person who adds value to their own life first, who sets the standard for how they want to be treated, who creates the kind of energy that attracts quality people. Your new beginning. This isn't the end of your story, it's the beginning of a new chapter. A chapter where you're the author, not just a character. A chapter where you set the tone, establish the rules, and choose the cast. A chapter where your kindness comes from strength, not weakness. Where your love comes from abundance, not scarcity. Where your generosity comes from choice, not obligation. You don't have to become someone else. You just have to become the fullest, most empowered version of yourself. The version who loves deeply but wisely, who gives generously but strategically, who trusts openly but carefully. The version of you who understands that the greatest gift you can give to the world is your authentic, empowered, boundaried self. Because when you stop diminishing yourself to make others comfortable, you give everyone around you permission to do the same. The final question. So here's my final question for you. Are you ready to stop being a victim of your own kindness? Are you ready to transform your greatest weakness into your greatest strength? Are you ready to become the kind of person who is loved for who they are, not what they do for others? Are you ready to discover what it feels like to be chosen, not just convenient, to be valued, not just used, to be respected, not just tolerated? If your answer is yes, then your transformation starts now. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel ready. Now, because you've been ready all along, you just needed someone to remind you that your worth isn't determined by how much you give to others. It's determined by how much you value yourself. And you, my friend, are worth so much more than you've been accepting. If this message resonated with something deep inside you, if you're ready to join a community of people who are choosing themselves and transforming their lives, hit that subscribe button. Because this is just the beginning of conversations that will change how you see yourself and your power. The world is waiting for the real you, the empowered you, the magnetic you. It's time to let them meet her.